Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. It is good to be back. Little Labor Day and not a lot of baseball today, although I did go to the stadium last night. Justin Penik asked for a quick Yankee update, so maybe we'll give that. But it's time to talk some football.
Yeah.
It is here this weekend, Thursday night, tomorrow night. My God. Actual NFL game that counts, and then a full slate this Sunday, which, I planned a little weekend around it. I've officially become that guy. Like, first NFL Saturday, meeting up with some buddies, golf in the morning, football in the afternoon. I am a generic white guy. Justin Penik, you are joining us in the lab today, Awake and Jake regular.
Yeah.
Dalton Feely is in the room. He gets a couple vetoes today if he hears anything, most likely I say, that is wrong football-wise. Davis Wimbledon on the ones and twos. Justin Penik, how are you doing? You're here. You're home.
You know, when I'm on this show, usually it's something good is happening with football, and that makes me happy. Whether it's the draft, whether it's week one of the NFL season, Super Bowl, whatever. I'm happy to be here, Jake. Happy to see you, BBD, and I'm glad Dalton gets some vetoes. So let's do it. Let's talk some ball.
Let's do it. I will, some funny stuff off the rip. We just talked Des Bryant in the room. Yeah. And you guys were mentioning how he's now just a Twitter X celebrity. Yep. One of his tweets from 10 hours ago, he retweeted someone that said, Sky Moore is Chiefs wide receiver 1, by the way. And he commented SMH. So
I could see Des Bryant being a big Rashee Rice guy.
You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's get there. Penik, I think one box we should check off early, because I don't even think it's a box, because there's nothing to really add. And you said this, and funny enough, on my way in on DraftKings, I bet Chiefs and Eagles just to win their division. And I'm sorry, because your
okay
Giants are in that division.
I'm right with that.
But I was looking at the board because it's the NFL. It's crazy. We're about to talk about a lot of it. And, you know, is this... I mean, before you even get to young QBs and who's going to be good and who's going to be awful, there's a tier of NFL that I've heard people scream that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be awesome this year, and there's
talk about that.
A part of me that's like, I don't know, aren't they still the Jacksonville Jaguars a little bit? Let's get into all that. I mentioned I did that at the DraftKings Sportsbook. NFL is here, and the official sports betting partner of the NFL is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet $5 on any NFL game. They've got their same-game parlays. Go check it out. They offer boosts all the time. That's where you can actually do really good. They offered a Patty Mahomes last Sunday for 2 hours, over 275 yards passing.
Yeah.
Even money. Done.
Yeah. Lions defense?
Done. Download now and use code BAKERS to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code BAKERS only at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. So, Justin, before we even turn the mics on, and the reason I mentioned that bet, along with the read, you said it's, Chiefs, Eagles, and then
it could get like kind of kooky.
There's a tier of like 20 teams.
Yeah. No, and don't get me wrong. Like, I think 20 is definitely like an exaggeration. But I mean, man. Like you talked about, like the Jaguars, and they could be a team that could like creep up on like that second tier, right? The Bengals are always there. What are the Bills going to look like? Like if you look at their drafts and you look at their line, and second year without Dable, Leslie Frazier not here. So we're going to talk about all of it, but it really is like the Chiefs and the Eagles from a coaching standpoint and a talent standpoint. Plus you have the quarterbacks as well. And then it's like everybody else that is definitely trying to figure out how are we going to catch those two teams.
Yeah. I know it's obviously been talked about a lot about the quarterbacks in each division, and when you see where Hurts is, then it's Dak and Jones, and Daniel Jones. I want to talk some Giants.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little Broncos. Not a ton of Broncos. But when I was looking at the list of NFL quarterback depth chart this morning, and looking at the NFC, and was like, because I do believe in Dayball. Why not? Why not? I mean, the dude's proven it, right? That, man, like, you could make, in the NFC, Daniel Jones could be a top blank quarterback if there's another gear in there.
And there needs to be.
Where are you at with your Giants, Penik? Give me the real.
They need to score more points. They need to be more explosive, and they need to play better football than they did last year. Now the schedule's tougher, and I always like to look at the schedule. And I like to analyze the schedule simply before the season because I want to do something, and it's like you get excited for the season and analyze your opponents, but I don't even want to talk about a tough schedule because that could all be thrown out the window depending on how teams project and how there's so many things that change and injuries and things like that. But with my Giants, like the expectation is to be a playoff team because they got better. It's not like they got worse. It's not like they were forced to pay guys, whether it's in-house, out of house, and going out and signing big free agent. They didn't need to do that. Like the big move that they really made this offseason was trading the 100th pick in the draft, which they got from Kansas City for Kadarius Toney. So they basically traded Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller, plus they got a 6th-round pick back that I'm very excited about, and Trey Hawkins from Old Dominion. But Darren Waller was the main acquisition of this Giants offseason. And, man, watching him in camp, he's getting the ball constantly. He was in there for one drive of the preseason game. It was the most electric drive that I've seen in a really long time. Darren Waller can change this Giants offense, going from, they got some guys, and they got good coaching that can get guys open, and they can move the ball. They can score points. They got Saquon Barkley. Darren Waller can turn them into, this is a top 10, top 12 unit in the National Football League, which even though they were last year, like kind of like if you look at EPA and stuff like that, and even points scored, they were pretty good. But I want them to just be a more well-rounded unit, and Darren Waller is the key to fully unlocking that.
The Jimmies and the Joes matter sometime, and I don't want to take a shot at someone like Daniel Bellinger, who was really nice for the Giants last year. Waller's a different animal, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a guy who, whether highlight reel, full season stats, it's a matter of health, and I know you know that, and it's that's going to be the interesting game for the Giants.
Gives me agita.
Is it?
Gives me a ton of agita.
You say a lot of stuff gives you agita, and I don't really know what that means still.
You're Italian. You know, you too much sauce gives you agita.
I think I just live with agita then. I think I just am agita.
Perfect.
What else do we need to know with the Giants? Is the defense better, or what? I guess is our biggest concern the division? Like the Eagles are the Eagles, which is really tough. And by the way, when we do talk Broncos for a second, like I know the feeling, like just coming into the season with Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's brutal every year because you just know you need 3 other things to go your way, and that doesn't always work in football. Like, is the fear that the Cowboys figure it out and that puts the Giants in a tougher spot, or what are the Giants' fears?
The Giants ideally, again, with coaching and talent, they have that combo to compete with the Cowboys and maybe compete in games with the Eagles, not beat the Eagles. Like the Eagles are on this tier. It's like, hey, if we can even come close, that's great. But week 1 against Dallas is that game that's circled as like, at home, prime time. That's a game that I'm expecting to win, and the Giants need to win if they want to take that step up. But I'll break it down into 2 parts because you got the front 4 and you have the pass rush with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, and they added some depth in the back end of that interior D-line room this offseason. That makes that room arguably the best in the NFL. And that's not, I don't even think that's me just being a Giants fan. And then you have Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari.
Don thought about using his veto there.
Come on.
Because, I mean, isn't there arguably another team that plays at the same stadium that has an argument for that?
I think Dexter Lawrence is better than Quinnen Williams.
Okay.
He was thinking about it.
Very close to throwing up the Des Bryant.
He was thinking about it. But I mean, you have Ashawn Robinson too. You have Nacho, Raheem Nunez-Roches. That's like your 3 and 4, which is pretty darn good in my opinion. And then you have Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari out on the edge. Like that pass rush, I will say that the unit as a pass rush it has potential to be really good. It's not going to be like the best in the NFL, so I will give you that. But the thing that gives me a little worry on defense is just they're starting 2 rookie corners on the outside. They have Deonte Banks, who's a first-round pick, and then they have Trey Hawkins, that Old Dominion 6th-round pick that I really like, but he's a 6th-round pick, and you're very nervous about starting a rookie corner. And like those are like the quarterback and cornerback are like the two positions that you really kind of circle in red, being like
starting
those
two rookies.
Yeah, because they want to put Adoree Jackson in the slot because they don't have a slot corner. So that's the worry.
Okay. I was gonna say because Adoree Jackson. I mean, that still counts as a starting corner.
Right. But
you are starting two rookies. Yeah.
On the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
You can kind of hide it in the slot a little bit, but two guys on the outside, it's gonna be tougher to hide, especially week one. Giants playing the Cowboys. You have a CD Lamb in the slot, so makes sense. That's their best receiver. But then when you get elsewhere and you have your best receivers lining up on the outside, then it's a different convo.
Eagles are a tough matchup for a lot of people. What's I guess quick schedule stuff. Is there something you're looking at in the Giants schedule like we need to be here by this week, like we need to be 5-3 by week 8 or something like that? Or
no, just especially running a Giants podcast since 2018, you just never want the season to be over by like the middle of October. So that's the only thing is like, hey, give me September, October relevant football. And odds are if you're relevant after October, then you're going to be relevant throughout the whole season. So that's the benchmark that I want. Like, hey, give me 2 months of relevant football.
Well, I think the good news is the bar has been raised. Like Daboll has fully raised the bar. And Daniel Jones too.
Yeah.
Like, last year it was a lot of different questions. Most people were assuming Daniel Jones wouldn't be the quarterback this season.
Even people in the building.
Yeah. Hey, go to a Talkin Giants tailgate this year. We got the first one Sunday, right? L16.
Yep, on the curb.
In the parking lot of MetLife, Sunday, September 10th, starting at 4:30. There's catered food, water, soda, entertainment. And you guys are doing this for every Giants home game, right?
Every Giants home game.
I might be doing October 2nd. We'll see.
Candlewick Diner will be catering that game.
Go to shop.johnboymedia.com, click on JAM Events, purchase your tickets. Go to a Giants game this year, have some fun with us. We're going to have people there.
Boom.
You going, Beebs? You're a Giants guy.
Probably a post-baseball tailgate I'll make it to. Update
Sundays
for
are
Justin
tough.
Penik, my best friends from home, moved across the street from Candlewick Diner
Really?
a few weeks ago.
Wow.
I
was there this weekend. I was like, heard of them?
Ask for Manny. Manny's a good dude.
Ask for Manny. Manny's a good dude. I'm going to give you my Broncos elevator spiel.
Where are we right now with them?
They had one of the worst NFL coaches ever last year.
Yeah. Sean Payton made that clear.
Man, how messed up is that? Like, that's so messed up. I mean, that was...
Coaches don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that was... Nathaniel Hackett even kind of gave him like, come on, man. Like, there's a coaching code here. Like, we don't do that. I don't know. Part of me loves it by Peyton because you almost need that mindset for the Broncos. Yeah. Like, I don't love it as a human or being nice to Nathaniel Hackett, who was one of the worst NFL coaches ever. If you're Sean Payton, you need that attitude. And Russ showed a little signs of life at the end that there's enough to believe. The Broncos are in that next tier of 20 that I joked about a little bit. Mm-hmm. The one thing I do, when the Broncos lost their early games, you mentioned you didn't want the Giants season to be over basically before it started. Yogi. When the Broncos lost those couple early games, the Russ return to Seattle game, and there was a couple others that were just heartbreaking. And it was Hackett, it was Russ, the whole thing felt broken. The Broncos went into the year with the back end of their schedule being brutal. So for me, watching an atrocious offense, mm-hmm. a horribly run program with a hard schedule coming, with the Chiefs in the division, with the Chargers roster that I love, it was over.
Yeah,
it was over. And I think everyone watching the Broncos knew that. Where I have hope, Sean Payton, why not? Led a lot of good Saints teams, although, it's not as impressive as Sean Payton's name or resume might come off. There's he almost gets some Parcells trickle to him for some of the old football fans.
Don't put Parcells in the same
sense. Okay. Coaching tree. Here's the Broncos schedule.
Yeah. Oh, it's super easy, right?
They open Raiders Commanders in Denver. Like, you have a natural home field advantage. You play at altitude to start your season. The Raiders are going to be one of the worst teams in football this year. They have to be.
McDaniel's no bueno.
Commanders, I mean, some people are talking themselves into Sam Howell and knock yourself out, I guess. They're still the Commanders, and it's in Denver.
You want to play them early in the season.
Like, the Broncos can be 2-0. They head to the Dolphins. Okay, let's see where they're at. And Tua, if he's healthy, like, I'm okay chalking that up as a mental loss if the Dolphins are clicking and everything. But Tua could also be out by week 3. Like, and then it gets into football. They play the Bears. Who knows? They host the Jets. You worry about that. They host the Packers. We don't know what they're going to be this year. They're one of the more wild card teams. There's people that love the Packers. There's people that aren't into the Packers. And then, they got Browns at home, Texans on the road. Like,
that's a good start.
Patriots at home. Like, the Broncos have a base where, like, they should get 6 wins. Like, and then as long as you win 3 of the other 12 games. So I guess even when you say a sentence like that, that shows a little bit of the excitement is gone.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of Sean Payton's job this year is bringing it back, because that last year was supposed to be so exciting, and then it was crushing.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the Broncos. GM and head coach are off cycle, right? So that's the little red flag in my brain is that when you don't have a GM and a head coach, especially when it's such a big swing as Sean Payton,
the alpha.
If those guys are not philosophically aligned, then that's a red flag to me. And the first thing is, I'm looking at their depth chart right now. Greg Dulcich, one of their higher draft picks at tight end, he's not starting. And also, something that's extremely strange, they're carrying 6 wide receivers right now, but 2 of them are on IR, and Jerry Jeudy is currently questionable, and I think he's struggling with an injury. So that's 3 healthy wide receivers. And this is just to start the season. And they have 4 tight ends on the roster. They have 4. So I don't
Split
even...
Dulcich out.
Yeah, I guess...
Drink the Marvin Mims Kool-Aid.
I guess that is part of their plan. And you know what's funny? If you look on the EPA tiers, I'm a big EPA guy. And like Dalton and I, we do power rankings for JM Football, and largely a lot of it, what I base it on is kind of like those EPA tiers of like offense, defensive EPA per play, and offensive EPA per play. The Broncos and the Jets were basically the same team last year. Like offensive, now that's not good for the Broncos because the Jets had such a disaster at quarterback, and ideally the Broncos do not have that disaster at quarterback with Russell Wilson. But for all the hype that the Jets are getting, the Broncos, they're not getting that hype, and they upgraded in what is probably the most important department, and that is coaching.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I mentioned the Jimmies and Joes. The X's and the O's are the other side of that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what Sean Payton has, and I don't think Russ is fully cooked, and I think they were horribly coached, and I don't know. I don't know what it means. You have to get off to a good start, or it can end instantly again, because the Chiefs are just there.
Wasn't there a stretch last year where, was it the beginning or the end stretch last year where we were on this same show and we were like, there's a stretch of the Broncos schedule that is really, really tough.
It was the end of their last season. It was almost every Super Bowl. It was like the Super Bowl it was like Chiefs twice.
Yeah.
And then it was like the sexy Super Bowl picks. It was like Ravens, Chargers, and it was just like.
So it feels like it's like the same thing this year where they have that kind of favorable start, and then you have like, the Chargers, the Chiefs kind of later on.
You have 2 Chiefs games.
Yeah.
And even I see they go Chiefs, Bills back to back.
Yeah.
And it's like, I do love when the NFL does the 4-game windows, even though it doesn't technically work anymore because we play 17.
Right.
But, one of their 4 games windows is, I was going to extend it to 5. They host the Jets. Are the Jets going to be the new Rodgers sexy Jets or no? They go to Arrowhead. They host the Packers. Are you going to be the new sexy Packers or are you bad Packers?
Right.
They host the Chiefs again. Okay. Then they play the Bills. So like, a stretch like that can be an easy 1-4 for a Broncos team. And what does that do to the rest of your season? I don't know.
Yeah. So again, the worry with them is Sean Payton coming in your first year. This is a roster that he didn't sign up for. So will there be misalignment just from a philosophical standpoint of I want my players to do X, Y, Z, and I have players here that are doing A, B, C. how is that fully? It should look better than last year, but how will it fully work, especially when you have such a window with Russell Wilson and the clock is ticking because of the cap hits and the big trade and the all of the assets that you did give up, and there's a team that's currently just really benefiting from that assets that you did give up.
Go 2-0. Raiders Commanders. I'll figure it out from there.
Go 2-0.
In Denver.
You should.
In Denver.
Defense is still good.
Defense is still good.
Yeah.
Defense is still good. And,
Shout out Vic Fangio.
Offense was same as the Jets, and now people kind of like their offense.
Yep.
They got Javonte back. Enough Broncos talk. What was the team in the power rankings you and Dalton disagreed the most on?
Ooh. Dallas. Okay, so where did we...
Dalton with an instant Dallas, and I see them at 6, which I am surprised about.
So this is where the Giants fan in me comes out, because...
You have them above the Niners? What is that? Oh, and Dalton.
Oh, so Dallas is too high.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying they were too low.
No. Too low at 6?
I don't know. Dallas had a really good offseason. Okay. They had a really good offseason where they already have an all-pro corner in Diggs who, he allows a lot of yards, but he's an all-pro corner. He gets interceptions. He's good. They added Stephon Gilmore, which that's like, to Dan Quinn's defense, he had Stephon Gilmore. Plus their pass rush. I think their pass rush is the best in the NFL. Dalton, veto or not?
I don't veto that.
Don't veto that. Micah Parsons
they're
is
putting
insane.
Parsons' hand down this year, right? He's coming after
edge. I mean, you still can put him everywhere, which is fun. You still can put him in the A gap, but I don't think they should be going out of their way to use him as like an interior linebacker, putting him in the A gap and then dropping him back into coverage. Because you have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and I'm looking at it as a victory anytime you drop that guy back into coverage. Like, oh, thank God you're not sending this guy. You have Sam Williams, who was driving a little too fast this offseason. Did you see Jerry Jones and Jerry Jones's quotes after Sam Williams was driving a little too fast?
I think I did, but I'm blanking on that.
He was basically saying, it's improvement because last offseason he was driving much faster, and then he ended off the little spiel saying, "We'll get it down," like he's talking about Albert Hainsworth's weight.
Yeah,
we'll get it down.
We'll get it down. We'll get his driving down.
Neither here nor there. There's a lot of other pass rushers.
Jerry grew up in a different world.
He did.
Still lives in a different world.
He still got DeMarcus Lawrence there. I mean, they drafted Mozzie Smith from Michigan, who was a really strong, good interior guy. So that Dallas defense is insane. And they traded for Brandon Cooks.
117 comments on that power rankings list.
We made people on Instagram mad, and people on Twitter were very nice.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's how it works 75% of the time, I'd say. Insta likes to run hot.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of. It's just a comment.
It's a lot of
run away.
Yeah, a lot of yelling into a void.
Dalton and I are going to do so we're going to make these power rankings. Then we're going to have like videos on the JM Football channel once a week.
Get ready for the Broncos to fly up after they're 2-0.
Whoa. Okay,
2-0.
so the 49ers are too low. Cowboys are too high. You would want to swap those teams. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, to have the Niners below the Dolphins.
So
and the Cowboys.
So here's my
get off
here's
to,
my thing. He's
going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt.
But the weapons,
I'm thicker than Tua.
But the weapon clip that. But the
just for your personal.
But the weapons that they have, it transformed Tua Tagovailoa into one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And I'm not, from a talent standpoint, I'm not saying like, oh, Tua is
and I
up
love
there.
McDaniel. I love the, I love all of it.
But he went from a quarterback who got made fun of, check down Tua, can't throw it down the field with Brian Flores, and then like boom, you bring in Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and it's Stretch City, which as it should. You have those insane athletes. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are both arguably, top 10. Tyreek Hill's in the top 5, but then you have Jalen Waddle, you could say is a top 15 approach in there. So it changes that entire offense, and it does change your entire teams. It changes your entire team when you have not just one, 2 alpha number 1 wide receivers with a good scheme and with a good system behind it.
Dolphins Chargers Sunday 4:25. That's a
debut of Kellen Moore.
That's a track meet.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
Yeah.
Penik, I asked you some questions we should talk about on Wake and Jake today.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 minutes in, we haven't talked about any of them really.
It's great. It's great.
Let's go, because and I'm also laughing because that's not exactly what happened, because we are talking about all these topics as we go. But I guess I remember coming into last year, everyone was hot on the Eagles because they were like, hey, the Eagles are really good. They're just going to kill teams on the line. The schedule's not bad.
Right.
The Eagles, as long as Hurts is like, okay, they'll be good.
Right.
Hurts was great.
Mm-hmm.
They were nasty. The other team, and like credit to people, the Vikings. People were like, I think the Vikings are good. What ended up being funny was they won a bunch of games, but people were like, wait, they're actually kind of not good. And then your Giants gave them the business in the playoffs a little bit. Who are the two teams that you are higher on, whether that's schedule or talent?
Yeah. All right, so we'll go. How about we go with the Steelers? We'll start off with the Steelers.
Okay.
I think this
that whole
is like
division, man.
This is like everybody's team that they're kind of starting to talk about, though.
People like Pickett.
Yeah.
People like Pickett. And if they have a quarterback, then you like the Steelers because their wide receivers are nasty and their defense is always nasty.
I think them getting rid of Claypool actually is good for them. Good for them too. Just a guy that was good at the combine and never really fully played out in the NFL. But here, like the Steelers, these kind of three things, and it comes down to offense because they have the defense. They have Watt, and even like Nick I've been really getting into the draft more recently, and I like Nick. I'm talking about Nick Herbig, who's probably not even gonna start. But man, he had like a great preseason. He was a guy at Wisconsin that was like super raw. Nick Herbig. Let's avoid him. Offense, Steelers offense.
Yeah.
Three things that I think are really going to help them this year. Yep. They were not explosive last year. They are going to be more explosive this year. When you're more explosive, you are more likely to win more games. So their big play rate is going to go up. Personnel grouping frequency. I think they can get a little bit more versatile on offense in terms of the personnel grouping frequencies they really kind of roll out there. And the rate at which they run plays, like how quickly they're running plays. They were one of the slowest teams in the NFL last year in terms of like end of play to next snap. I think that pace is going to pick up this year, which will inevitably favor the offense. It'll tire out the defense and all those kind of cliche football things. So I think those three things on offense are going to help them. And they're not, I think Najee Harris is a little overrated. Veto or not veto? So they could have a backup, Jalen Warren, backup running back that can maybe take a little bit more of the load from Najee Harris. And also not relying so much on the run. If you're throwing it a little bit more, throwing the ball is inevitably just more efficient than running anyway.
I tell you what, I might be with you on the Steelers. Well, no, instant take back. That division is a nightmare. I want to love the Ravens. Everyone, they're going to pass the ball better this year with Monken, the new offensive coordinator. We'll see on that. I do believe in Lamar and just the Ravens, and they have a good head coach. The Bengals. I mean, they number 3 on your guys' power rankings.
Yep.
Every year, you get excited about their offense, and then at the end of the season, it's like, wow, the defense is actually kind of nasty too. They've got dogs. It's hard to bet against the Bengals when they're the team that, I don't know, if you're looking for a team to take down the Chiefs, that's kind of your best bet, right? Yep. And then the Browns, I mean, this is kind of what it's all been building towards, right? Like, you got Deshaun's feet wet last year. It was ugly. Terrible. No way it can be that ugly, right? Right? Oh, I don't like the look on you or Dalton's face.
It gets to, and this is the same thing with Russell Wilson too, where it was so bad, what's the ceiling? Because a floor has been established.
Right.
Which you just mentioned.
That's the floor.
You just mentioned it. It can't get, but is the ceiling really what guys like Russ, what guys like Deshaun Watson, is the ceiling what they were at their best after it got so bad? Right. Because even like, hey, as a Giants fan, I would talk myself into, you know what? Fuck it. We were last year and everything, and especially offense. Well, screw it. We're going to be top 10 this year. It just doesn't seem to work like that. A guy like Justin Fields falls in that same category where I think a floor has been established, and even though there are a lot of things that are better, like, hey, second year in the system for for, Deshaun Watson. So we'll stick with the Browns here for a second. This is his second-ish year. How much better does it really get for him?
Right.
What's his new ceiling?
I love Chubb.
Oh, yeah. I love the system, the scheme.
I like their coach.
Yeah. Their line is awesome. Their defense is really good.
I don't know, unless it's Bengals. Like, if you're someone out there, you're all about Burrow, he's the second coming, and, they've done it the past couple years, and obviously Chase and the defense, blah, blah. I don't know how you can actually separate Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. Yep. And I think Bengals are in it with them, man. I know that's, like, lame, but isn't it true? Like, dude, everything you said, as I looked at the Steelers' depth chart, dude, Freiermuth and Darnell Washington at tight end.
Yep.
I think that can cause problems.
Yep. Freiermuth is good.
I know there was a Najee might be overrated argument, but I think for what he needs to do in that offense, I think he can be fine. I think he can get downhill and get you yards. Yeah. And then George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and how about third receiver? I'm not going to buy in because he's broken too many hearts over the year, but Allen Robinson as a 3.
Oh, wow.
Right? How about that one?
That's how they replaced Chase Claypool. That makes sense.
How about that one? Basically. I don't know, man. Like, if Pickett is... Ooh, what's a good comparison for Pickett?
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, if Pickett's Kirk Cousins, this team's really good.
Right. Again, we're talking... I'm mentioning ceiling and floor.
Which Kirk Cousins?
Last year's Kirk Cousins. Good Kirk Cousins.
Where'd his stats land? Because didn't his stats land in a very good spot last year?
Kirk?
I mean, he has Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, when you have Justin Jefferson, for sure.
And tall, handsome coach.
He cleared 30 tutties last year, right? No, he did not. 29.
Okay. There you go.
Bad guy.
I appreciate everything you said, but I think to take like a breakout team out of the AFC North, I think that's impossible.
Right.
I think that's impossible.
I think the Steelers have the best chance because there's a lot of other question marks with those other teams.
Tomlin's a great leader.
Yeah.
Tomlin's a great leader.
The
fact they don't
have a losing season.
The fact they don't is nuts.
Yeah. So many other question marks in that division, especially with, it's not with Lamar. It's kind of everything else that is around Lamar. With Odell Beckham Jr., I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting 3 weeks. And then, and I'll leave it at that. Rashad Bateman
Zay Flowers.
But Zay Flowers will be.
You love Zay Flowers.
Short. Like Tyler Lockett. If Zay Flowers can go out there and beat Tyler Lockett, his NFL career is extremely, extremely successful. But one of the things that Greg Roman wanted to integrate into that offense over the past few years, or the Ravens said they were going to integrate, is they were going to start taking the training wheels off for Lamar Jackson. And they didn't fully do that. And now this year in this new scheme, we're running more 11 personnel. We're running more of a drop-back passing offense. So I do think Lamar can operate it, but the Ravens have been very conscious that they cannot draft and they cannot develop wide receivers.
Yeah.
And they have it's an exciting trio of Bateman, and you still have Mark Andrews there too. How is Mark Andrews going to be used in a system that's not so like heavy personnel based?
I like Bateman. Why don't more people like him more?
He's hurt.
That's it.
He's hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
All those guys, him and Odell, really.
Even like fantasy purposes, like I don't know, and I know big JM fantasy draft tonight. So I don't want anyone ruining their boards, but Bateman's a guy that I've seen. Has he gone undrafted, or am I just
no?
He's getting drafted.
He's being like a lot of teams like last receiver they draft as depth.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I guess there's been a lot of. I've been at the end of the drafts this year, especially with wide receivers, being like, oh boy, like wow. But Bateman's there, and I'm like.
Yeah,
he goes up and gets it.
You take him in the last round.
He wins. Like in theory, he's perfect with Lamar.
Yep.
Like if he gets the one-on-one matchup, that's And I don't know. For them, it's always the chicken and the egg. Like, did they not open up the offense because they didn't have wide receivers? Did they not open it up because they didn't trust Lamar doing that? Or were they comfortable in doing what they were doing? Because when it worked, that Greg Roman almost high school offense was kind of sick.
Yeah.
It was kind of nasty.
They catered the offense to his strengths. And I think their mentality is, well, we did that for too long.
Right.
Now we need to evolve with the rest of the, like, you look at what the Mahomes and Burrows are doing, and it's like, well, we have a guy that maybe can do that. Let's see if he can. And I think he can. Like, Lamar's a good passer.
I've got one you guys may veto. I love J.K. Dobbins.
Love. Another guy that gets hurt.
I know. I know. But, man, him running when he came back and was running with a limp and, like, breaking through the line, and
yeah.
I don't know, man. You got to be wired a little differently.
They remind you of you.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That is kind of how I run these days. Jam Warehouse. Another team you might like more than others.
Jaguars.
Yeah? You're in on it.
Yeah.
The schedule, Trevor Lawrence took the jump. The division's awful.
I don't know if their defense is good, but it was above average last year. Well, slightly above average. DVOA liked them more than EPA did. But here's what they basically did.
Calvin Ridley.
And I've been talking, I talked about it with Miami and getting the alpha number one receiver, I think can change everything in Jacksonville. Now, I don't know if Calvin Ridley is going to be Calvin Ridley, and that's the
That's the
question
football
mark.
thing, right? Like it shouldn't be apples and apples.
But he looks good in
not.
camp.
But like Deshaun Watson, to jump back into the NFL can be really tough after missing time.
And I think for receiver, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's different because quarterback, there's so much to quarterbacking that's mental and physical. Where receiver, I kind of feel like an off year for Calvin Ridley may do him a little good. You saw like with think of it like a COVID opt out year for Jamar Chase. He comes into the NFL and he's that dude from day one,
feeling good.
So Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, I think that can really, they were a good offense last year. They were a top 10 explosive play offense with Christian Kirk and all those other receivers that we made fun of that they paid a lot of money for. Yeah. Now you're adding Calvin Ridley to that mix, who is a legit alpha number one when he's right. Second year in the system for Trevor Lawrence too, and just continuity is always a good thing in the NFL. Yeah. I don't know. I know people, plus an easy division. I know people are maybe hyping him up a little too much, but I think it's for somewhat of a good reason because you added Calvin Ridley, which we know alpha number one receivers can change your entire team.
It's tough because the Colts feel like a mess. Sorry, Dalt. The Colts feel like a mess. Houston has been a mess.
Yeah.
The Titans have not been a mess.
They're there.
They're there. And I guess I don't know. I'm in a weird spot where it feels like we've done this conversation with the Titans every year. And it's like, okay. But at the end, they're still in the mix.
They're there.
And I think that was the... Oh, Dalton's throwing up his veto. You're out?
They are going to be, I think, one of the shocking teams of the year.
Shocking bad?
Wow.
Wow. Dalton's going at... Okay.
Shockingly bad.
Okay. One returning O-lineman from Dalton. Okay. Not. Yeah, there's... Okay. Dalton uses one of his vetoes. Hey, offensive lineman name check. Not great.
Right.
Not your Madden. These guys are going to the Hall of Fame, and I need to learn their names. They do have dudes on defense. I mean, they still have Byard. They have Simmons.
Yeah. I love Simmons.
Okay, so I fade the Titans, Dalt.
Especially their offense. Their defense still may be good, but their offense is going to be really bad.
I mean, I will say this, and I have ended up with him in fantasy because sometimes it's too tempting. But DeAndre Hopkins on the Titans feels like when a wide receiver ends up on an old team and it begins the end of their journey.
Yeah.
And that's rude because I love Hopkins, man.
He's still good at
and
what
I'm not
he's good
writing
at.
him off because, dude, I think he carried the whole Cardinals offense.
I
think there's a chance Kyler's not very good.
If you look at that spray chart, if you look at like the where he would catch the ball, it would just be out routes on the left sideline. Like they never line. I don't know why. I don't know. Like usually I would think as like, hey, as a football guy, maybe line your guys up in a couple different places and maybe give the defense a little bit of a different look. He would always just line up on the left side of the field and he would catch balls near the sideline. And okay, then that's the offense.
That's what he can do.
And he could still do that well. And I'm actually wondering if he could do other things well besides just that.
He's 31 years old.
How far into this are we?
Houston, Arizona, and Tennessee.
I want to talk about. There's one of the. How far into this? 40 minutes. We're good, right?
We're good, right? What's the one team you want to talk about? In a good way or a bad way?
I want to hear your thoughts on the Chicago Bears.
Dalton just hammered the Titans. He hates them.
Chicago Bears. Justin Fields.
They are one of the hot topics this year, huh?
Because their fan base is the most. I don't want to use toxic as a word that gets thrown around in this company a little too much.
Right.
But
it slowed down recently. Thank God.
But they are. Like that fan base is really, really like I've never seen a fan base rally around a quarterback more.
I guess I don't wrestle on Bears Twitter as much as I'd like to.
Yeah. They will find you.
What's the expectation? Because that depends where I stand.
And even like NFL people,
I don't have them as a playoff team.
There's some people that expect Justin Fields to take like a top 10, top 5 quarterback jump this year.
No, I don't have that. He didn't throw last year.
He's not. He's not a very good thrower of the football.
Like I think Justin Fields will have a good year.
Yeah.
In fantasy football,
I drafted him in fantasy the other day.
Justin Fields will have a good year in fantasy football. Some of the passing stats, man, and like in college football, and I think the NFL now in recent years, you could rack up stats that sometimes don't matter.
Right.
Who did they beat last year? I know they added talent and Justin Fields was playing without talent, and you could put that as an argument for him. Like adding DJ Moore should change their offensive look and puts everyone kind of back in their positions a little bit. I mean, some of his game logs from last year.
It's brutal.
It's never been successful at the NFL level.
Right.
If you stay at that level. I think his passing numbers are going to get better.
Right.
I think teams are going to live in fear of him running, and that'll provide some opportunities, and he's still going to be able to run. But
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is the most efficient play in football? Do you know this? You know this.
The most efficient play in football.
Yes.
Most efficient play in football.
Yeah.
Post route.
No, I got
pass.
it. I got it. So it's when a quarterback drops back to pass and he runs. That is the most efficient play in football.
Okay.
Justin Fields has that.
Sure.
He has that wrapped up, and that's great. And I love how NFL coaches are getting to a point where they're just embracing, or it's like, dude, like, you know, even though this is a pass play and I spent a lot of time cultivating this play and designing this play, but you know what? If there's a running lane and it's here and we're not accounting for you to run, take it.
Right.
Because that is the most efficient play in football. So Justin Fields
What's that?
has
Is that just pure yardage?
Well, I would say maybe yards per play. Like I guess so, like on an efficiency standpoint. Because even think about it just from the eye test too.
I know what you're saying, but also I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of fumbles that come from QB scrambling and things like that. That I was thrown off by the word efficient.
Yeah,
but I understand it.
Yeah. No, but that's a good point. And I wonder, like, I think there are more fumbles within the pocket, and I think there are more fumbles on designed runs. QB designed runs, and even more injuries on QB designed runs than actual scrambles. Because most of the time when QB scramble, they're running because they have a wide ass open lane, and then they can
see it.
They can end the play with sliding. They could end the play with running out of bounds, which is why I love the most efficient play in football so much. Jake, hot take.
So you're a Bears guy.
I don't know because even going from it's such a putrid start
you're a
last
numbers
year.
guy.
Week
They
7,
have the most efficient offense.
Week 7 to 18, Justin Fields, if you look at the EPA CPOE composite, which CPOE is completion percentage over expected, Fields was 14th, which is not horrible. And they did get better. Again, adding DJ Moore, we're talking about the alpha number one wide receivers.
Right.
Adding DJ Moore is awesome. Like, that was the best part about that trade that they did. I believe it was with the Cardinals. No, I'm sorry, the Panthers, because they got the number one pick. Why I'm an idiot. So they got the number one. You know, they traded that pick.
Do you like
They got
sacks?
DJ Moore. Sacks? What kind of sacks? Potatoes?
Oh, boy.
Ball sacks?
Justin Fields did have the most sacks last year.
And that is the bad thing. Sacks are drive killers. So if you take sacks and if you're holding onto the ball, he's got to get rid of the ball. He's got to become a better passer.
5-20 as a quarterback.
Right.
I know the Bears haven't been stacked, and I still don't think they are.
No.
Like, what else do you guys like on the Bears?
No,
Do they have a defense?
Their drafts are funky. Their offensive line is still in a funky spot, trotting out former tackles and guard. You know, so they're still they're in a better spot, but they are not in a spot where Justin Fields is all right. On the efficiency and performance standpoint, Justin Fields is going to be a top 10 quarterback. No. Unless you look at fantasy football, which that's different.
Fantasy football, he will be great. If I look at that division, I think I would talk myself into every other team before the Bears.
Yeah.
Dalton has a question, not a veto.
So for Justin Fields,
Justin
now he's a
Fields.
runner.
Right.
My question is there a world where he becomes the first Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season?
First Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Last year, he threw for 2,242. I'll cast my ballot. I don't.
Is there a world where he just takes that? Maybe not this year, but ever.
No, I think Justin Fields is going to have a fine. I think he's going to be the Bears quarterback. Like, I'm even seeing the 17 touchdowns to 11 picks. That's better than what I had in my head. The yardage is still low, and some of those are games that are just zeros. Which, in theory, if you become a better, more mature player, those go away. But I mean, he passed for over 200 yards twice. I mean,
And those are in games where you're losing, too.
they lost both those games. I mean,
No, I'm saying in general, like he only eclipsed
Right.
200 yards
Right.
in a losing team where usually if you're a losing team, you're throwing the ball more. He ran for 1,143 yards.
it's
last
awesome.
year.
I mean, and that's going to open up more passing opportunities for him again that I think, could he get to 3,000 passing yards this year and rush for 900 or something? And
He'll get
that
to
starts
4,000
bounce.
combined. He'll get to 4,000 combined. Passing and running. Ideally.
I don't know, man. Just with how much passing is in this league and runs the league, and you two would both drive home the point on that. Like, for how much passing runs this league now, a lot of the good quarterbacks can sneeze 250 yards.
Yep.
Like, what's Kirk doing?
Yeah. That's also a team that now here's the thing. Passing
It's not
is
the fair
king in the NFL. But you did see last year that running the ball was starting to make a little bit of a comeback because as you have more teams kind of drop guys back into coverage, you're seeing too high. Vic Fangio, you're welcome. Throwing two safeties back there, so the boxes are light and they're not
Power
stacked
run.
anymore. Yeah, so the Bears were one of those teams that they're embracing that, and they have Khalil Herbert, who is an upgrade over David Montgomery, an in-house upgrade that was already there. They didn't like David Montgomery towards the end of it, so they started to play Khalil Herbert a little bit more. They're leaning into that we are a running team.
Right.
But if we're talking about that Justin Fields, where the Bears fans, number one, and then also NFL people, some NFL people are saying this guy is going to take like a top 10 jump as a performance-wise quarterback. He needs to improve as a passer, and that's the overall point. That's what's going to win games. And like if you want to make a playoff, if you want to make the playoffs and be a Super Bowl contending team, that is what you need.
Like, yeah, man. Last year was Fields' second season.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, looking at the good rushing, passing quarterbacks, Lamar's second season was nasty. 3,000 yards, 36 touchdown passes, 6 picks. This is MVP year. So, again, probably not the most fair comparison, but there are people that want to believe in that, so that's why it's even a discussion. I don't know. I'm thrown off by the Packers as a whole because as an organization, they get a ton of respect. They had a quarterback that just sat and watched for 3 years. So the people that say they know on the Packers or the people that are buying Packers stock, they're just playing the game. Yeah. They're just taking their version of risk because the NFL has so much of that in a given season. A lot of people are on the Lions.
Yeah.
I like the Lions. I like them more than the Bears.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to win the division.
And then the Vikings had a great year last year, and Kirk's fine, and tall, handsome coach is tall and handsome. And
I learned this morning. Dalton, you might have learned this too, right? When I told you this, who's the defense coordinator? New defense coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings since their defense was really bad last year.
Patrick Graham.
No, I wish. Brian Flores.
I knew you liked him. Wow. Okay.
So they're gonna start blitzing the piss out of teams, and I don't know if they upgraded in their secondary all that much. I don't know how much they've. I think the Vikings overall almost got like worse as a team. Yes, they drafted Jordan Addison in the first round. I don't know on the top of my head like their free agency moves.
I see 5 Jordan Addison tweets a day.
People like him because you want to know why? Because the offense throws the ball a lot,
right?
And Adam Thielen is gone, and I think Jordan Addison is an upgrade over Adam Thielen.
Thielen on the Panthers now.
Yeah.
Bryce Young safety net?
Yeah, let's rock and roll. They were so bad. Oh my, that
feels like
that.
Remember when I mentioned Hopkins looking in the Titans uniform in a couple years? Like, Thielen in that Carolina.
They were so
I don't know.
bad.
I hope I'm wrong about both of them. I like both guys, but
they were so bad. Like Giants Panthers preseason game.
That'd be a good lane for one of you guys. Just get every sick wide receivers like.
Their second team.
Their team's jersey that everyone's like, oh.
Yeah.
That's a good YouTube video. Just every former number 1 wide receivers.
Like Julio's getting thrown in it because he ended up on the Titans, and that was tough.
Didn't go great.
Who were some other ones?
Randy Moss. Well, his second team was fantastic.
It doesn't have to be
Andre Johnson.
Where'd Andre go? The Colts. Yeah. He's so good. What a good career.
Jerry Rice, Seahawks
And Raiders.
That's a good lane.
Reggie Wayne. Remember Reggie Wayne went to the Pats? He was like, I'll try this out. And then he's like, Bill Belichick's too hard. I'm out.
Dude. No thanks.
Bill Belichick's too tough.
Don't need it. Justin Penik, we've covered a lot.
We have.
Cinco just everywhere.
Who's the Antonio Brown? What are we missing?
I'll just rip off some takes. Can I rip off some takes?
Get hot. 2-minute drill.
Bills. Leslie Frazier no longer there. I know McDermott's a defensive coach, but I've loved what Leslie Frazier has done with the Bills. I think they could be feeling effects of Brian Dable even leaving too. But this is second year with Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator. The drafts for the Bills have been kind of unimpressive as the years have gone on, and they haven't been able to build an offensive line.
There's a little blood in the water in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of people are ignoring it.
So I don't think they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be like we're putting them in the same conversation as Bengals and Chiefs in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think that's officially going to be they're going to take a little step down in a tier this year. So that's my Bills take.
McDermott almost lost me forever when he lost the win game to Belichick.
Oh. Yeah.
He almost lost me forever.
That's why Bill Belichick's awesome. Awesome.
That's so dumb.
Bill Belichick is awesome, even if he makes...
Just because Mac Jones can't throw it doesn't mean Josh Allen can't. Give him the ball. What are you doing?
Run him. Yeah,
And like Dolphins are now at a point, and I'm not the biggest Tua guy.
yeah.
A Dolphins home game versus the Bills, the Dolphins should be favored.
Yeah. Yes.
They can beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up. Like, not like, hey, if football
playoff
happens
game?
and a couple things happen.
The playoff game. You're like right there.
And I think the Jets are going to be good. I hate that people love them, but their defense is sick and Rodgers is
It's just
a
too
quarterback.
good. It's too good to be true.
Yes, but they also know that a little bit. Like, we've seen this with teams before. And, like, I think because the Jets live in fear of themselves being the Jets, I think they have, like, a little bit of a shoulder up. Like, hey, we kind of can't blow this.
Yeah,
They're nasty.
They are.
With one of the most skilled quarterbacks ever. He's old. But, I mean, they might have the best running backs in football.
Yeah, it's the line. It's the line and the depth of that line that really does worry me. If they move Mekhi Becton to right tackle, another guy where I think it's going to be a really fun 3 games. It's not even it sounds like a shot. I guess it is a shot.
It's a little bit of a shot.
A little bit of a shot. Mekhi
It's
Becton,
a little bit of a Meadowland shot.
Mekhi Becton is one of the best offensive linemen in the National Football League when he's out on the field. Like, he did things at Louisville where it's like, all right, you're just moving dudes at the college level. Well, you're not going to do that in the NFL because you're so big. It's like, yeah, he did. Yeah. He just came in here and he did it right away. So if him being healthy on that right side, I think it changes it. You still have AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker from USC, who's very, very good, and he has that positional versatility too. So that's really the only depth on the line I think will decide what the fate of the Jets will be this year. I'll rip off.
It's just
Can I rip off?
Because it's the Jets. Rip.
I'm ripping off. Falcons are a team that makes me go, ooh, ah.
Okay, me too.
Drafts and roster construction is extremely interesting. Run the ball more than they throw the ball. And they're also one of the few teams to also more efficiently run the ball than throw the ball. Huge unknown at quarterback. Bad division and also insanely easy schedule. Like, it is insane how easy their schedule is. I'm not even just talking about in division.
Right. I guess the only concern there is I think teams playing the Falcons right now are saying that's an easy week.
Right. Right.
So if they can clear the hurdle, if Ritter can make a play action pass, that team will be a problem. I loved watching them last year.
Yeah.
They're so ridiculous.
Yeah. And they just added Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Who was like
Double
awesome.
down.
Cordell Patterson, we're making a new position for
What is
Cordell
that?
Patterson.
That actually worries me. You can't put out your first depth chart and put out the position Joker.
Jay.
You can't do that.
He's also like 30. How old is he? 36, something like
That's a Jolly Olive football video.
Yeah,
right there.
that is.
What the hell is that?
Following the career of him. And then I have one more team.
Okay.
The Seahawks. I don't know if I even fully believe.
People like them.
I don't know if I fully believe, but this is just a team that has done tremendously smart things, and they draft well every single year, and they just seem to get better. So there you go.
If we didn't have memories of old Geno Smith in our head, I think a lot people would love the Seahawks.
He made some bananas throws last year. Insane, like all 20. You watch all 22 throws. It's like how did he fit this ball between 3 defenders and to lock it down the field?
Their
crazy
wide receiver
stuff.
core.
They added Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they drafted Devin Witherspoon
With Metcalf, with Lockett, who ends up open twice a game.
Yep.
Nobody knows how. Throws on his invisibility cloak. I watched Harry Potter.
I would have
weekend.
loved to see like their training camp practices of JSN, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and then you have Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant in the slot, and then Tyreek Woolen. I would have loved to see those practices this summer.
They could easily, if Geno plays like he did last year, they could easily win 10 games.
I don't really know what like happened to them, because they were like the hottest. They were hot in the streets, and then they cooled
Great
off.
start.
They did end slow. Let's see. Should I bring it up?
Like I don't know, like yeah, Kenneth Walker, yeah.
Kenneth Walker.
They
Yeah,
like
their running back game is always pretty wild.
Their tackles, second-year guys.
Charles Cross.
Who's the thick running back for them that never happened, and then he rushed for like 200 yards? Rashad Penny.
He's an Eagle now.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagle.
They don't care who they give the ball to, huh?
No.
The Eagles changed their whole... What's
like-
the Eagles depth chart right now?
They have Rashad Penny. They have Kenneth Gainwell.
So Gainwell's back.
They traded for DeAndre Swift.
Huh.
Boston Scott is back.
Say that.
Boston Scott, the only reason why Boston Scott is on the Philadelphia Eagles is to score, like they know it, is to score touchdowns against the New York Giants twice a year.
They literally have it as like a team joke.
Yes, they know it. They know it. He knows it.
It's kind of messed up.
Like, hey, thanks Eagles for giving me a check every year just so I could score multiple touchdowns against the Giants every
It's
single
like a bye week for the other running backs.
Turn a couple kicks.
They keep the other running backs.
Don't
fresh.
talk about the kicking game against the Eagles with me, please.
Yeah.
Petrified of 2010.
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
What?
$5 bet I put on
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence to win a MVP.
God, I don't like how many people are in on the Jags. But I said this last year about the Vikings.
I'm going to win $80.
I'm not.
Let's Jaguars. And yeah. Why not? Why not?
People actually feel that way.
Jaguars and give me an NFC team. You represent the NFC.
I mean,
I'm AFC.
Niners.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quarterback situation.
I'm in on the Saints.
That is another sneaky team.
I'm in on the Saints.
They have the schedule is so easy.
Derek Carr sneaky leaves a bad franchise.
Yes.
I mean,
Chris Olave is good. Defense is good.
defense is good. They have a good home field.
Yes.
They're like a sneaky, fairly well-run organization.
I think they could win
the
10 games this year.
20 years or so.
I mean,
15
there's a lot.
years.
Breeze and Peyton get a lot of that, but like even the past couple years when they've been doing at quarterback is
The
ridiculous.
fact they haven't been like just dog shit the last.
The fact
couple
they
years.
haven't had like a 3-win season is crazy.
Right.
But it's a little bit that division.
Yep.
They're the favorites in the division.
They are. They're going to win the division.
I thought they were like sexier, and then I was like, oh crap.
yeah. Yeah.
But like I think they've got a chance to be this year's like Vikings. Like I think they could win 12 or 13, and everyone's like, I don't think the Saints are that good. But then people will compare them to Stafford and the Rams because they'll be like, oh, Stafford escaped Detroit, went over there.
So Saints is your NFC pick.
They're not my Super Bowl.
Oh, you said
They're
49ers.
my Vikings.
49ers.
I think they have a nice season. They get to the playoffs, and then someone beats them up in the dome.
All right, Jaguars 49ers Super Bowl. You heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
Thank you, Justin Penik.
Imagine if we're right.
Talking Giants. A lot of jam football stuff this year. A lot of social media. I think there's another big football announcement coming soon. I have to go to the bathroom really badly. Thank you to Dalton and his vetoes. Thank you to BBD. I'm sprinting to the bathroom.